Well, welcome again to another episode of Upon Further Review, week number 5. Going to be a fun one this week. Thanks for being with us. Never been checking out Upon Further Review. This is where we review last Friday's games. We crown a player of the week along with some honorable mentions, and we will preview next week's games as well. So let's get started here. Matt Bates here in the middle here. Jeff Whitener all the way to my right here, your left. And let's get started with the Week 5 results, and they look just like this. Festus, 40-14 over Hillsboro on our live stream STL Game of the Week there. Herculaneum, 50-20 over Cuba, our live stream STL 2 game. And DeSoto, 41, Windsor 14, our live stream STL 3 game. And we are going to get started right away here. We're going to talk a little bit about this Festus, oh my gosh, they just continue to roll here, and 40-14, what a game here, Matt.
Basically, this was just Festus waited them out. This just seemed like a well-managed chess match between Coach Afadale and Coach Zaharsky. That, this thing was 14-7 at half, but it almost all the points were right there before halftime. Big fumble by Festus to give Hillsboro the ball right there with about 4 minutes left. Chazelle had a great game, but really eerily, that thing I call halftime, that once that happened and Hillsboro got the ball to start quarter number 3, I had the visions of that Northwest Seckman game where all of a sudden this went from a 14-7 game. Hillsboro goes 3 and out. Festus comes right down. Perry to Yates, 21-7, kickoff, extended drive. Hillsboro drives down to about the Festus 20-yard line. They go out on 4th down. Festus comes down. Ball goes in. 28-7, just bada bing, bada boom. And really, I don't think the Hawks had any time to really recover from that. Parker Perry did Parker Perry things, was accurate, deep enough. Lawantre Williams did his thing. But it just seemed one of those games where, like, if coaches wanted to match, like, 6-minute drives, that's what they were going to do. To me, I think the Festus team can react to whatever the situation is better than most of the other teams in the area. Like, if you want to play a fast game, okay, we'll crank the knob up with you too. You want to slow it down, we can do that too. But the thing with Festus is no matter what they do, they put points up in the process. To where, if you're going to kill, 3 6-minute drives, kill 18 minutes of gameplay and not put any points up, Festus is going to make quick damage out of whenever they get the ball back.
Well, you're absolutely right, Matt. And Coach Ofadale and his team, they know that, coming off the season they had last year, they've got the target on their back. So every team, especially the big schools in their conference, are going to come in there and they're going to play lights out. They are going to get the best that their opponent has to offer. And sometimes that means a close score at the end of the half. And Hillsboro did everything they could in that first half to keep that game close, and kudos to them. But, picture the Tigers, instead of being a tiger, an anaconda. And when they come in through that second half, and like you said, they adapt to those situations, they adapt quicker than most teams. And then they just start squeezing the life out of you in the second half, and just get those coils around you, and it's almost like, and I, with apologies to any opponent, but that's almost like they slowly grind you down and break your will. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're seeing out of this Festus team. We saw it last year as well, and this bodes well as they, try to stay on top of the Class 4 District 1 standings, and hopefully get themselves into a shot at the district title and beyond.
Excellent. Moving on to the next game here. Herculaneum 50, Cuba 20 on live stream STL2. Big homecoming win for the Herky Black Cats, and lots of fun, I'm sure, over there. I'm sure they rang the bell here, Mr. Matt, and was able to
they had
have a
50
good night.
rings. They had 50 rings on that sucker, so the freshmen and even maybe some 8th graders were getting in on that
You
action.
and I might be able to come over there and help.
You're
right?
darn tootin'. Herky, 240 on the ground. Reeves, 8 carries, 111, 2 TDs. Come on now. Passing, 5 for 8. So, even though it was 78 yards, still had two TDs in the process, but no INTs. And, you're not talking like, say, like a Parker Perry, 80% completion rating, or But, coming into the season, though, you had a Reeves that was 30%, has now bumped it up, on the year to 50. So I think, Jeff, some of those that we see through the area where, you might have like a Parker Perry, you might have like a Hutchcraft that has 12, 13 TD passes, no INTs, maybe an INT. He's 50% on the year, 7 TDs, 1 INT. To me, that's helping keep Herky in the ballgame, at least on the passing, to where he's not being a detriment to where, you're missing more than you are on fire. And I think in the fact that he's not creating the turnovers in the process bodes well for him as well.
It's all about making smart decisions with the football.
Mm-hmm.
And if that means you need to throw the ball away or throw it into the turf, so be it in that situation. You don't want to take a risk and risk an INT in situations. The thing that stuck out to me in this game, even though he had a couple of catches, they were both for touchdowns, Tanner Duncan.
Yeah.
And what I've seen out of Tanner Duncan is a guy who, he joined the team last year, looked kind of out of sorts at first. But as this season has progressed this year, his second full season, I see him making more and more of an impact every week. And that certainly bodes well for the Black Cats down the road right now. They've got a very, very tough district, but they are just right behind Jefferson in the Quad County Conference standings, and achieving a conference title is something well within reach for the Black Cats.
And to your prior point there about Duncan, that, for a team that doesn't pass a whole lot during a game, to be ready when your number is called. So, once again, only 3 catches, 2 of them go to the house. So, it didn't jump out at you with the 39 yards, but, he got 12 points on the night out of all that. So,
and the rest of the time you've got to block, you've got to sell plays, sell routes. There's a lot of work involved there, like you said, while you're waiting for your chance.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and this was a Cuba team that was coming off getting a shellacking from Windsor the week before.
That's right.
So.
That's right. All right, game
Speaking
3
of
here.
which.
Hey, speaking of Windsor, unfortunately they got that reverse shellacking there. DeSoto 41, Windsor 14 on live stream STL3. And, it was the test of all tests for these two teams here. And, DeSoto rose to the occasion.
I'll say they did. It's one of those things where, you see this Class 4 where I kind of call it like your mid-majors, where you're in there from your Class 6 down to your Class 1s. You had the Hillsboro Festus tilt. Now you have DeSoto Windsor, to where I think what would have impressed you more if somebody would have said if DeSoto beats Windsor by 27 or if Festus beats Hillsboro by 26. I would dare say DeSoto going up there and hanging 41 up against the Owls at their place on homecoming after Windsor had just racked up 692 against Cuba the week before, feeling pretty good about yourself, thinking we got some things going. And then all of a sudden, like an Eli Tebow broke out, and this Cannon Kisner, boom, boom, Cannon, he was just slinging and bringing it. Now, I know there's no footage that exists from our game. It's out there. I know because I was there and I did it. Telling you right now, Tebow, 11 for $132 on the ground, had 16 total tackles, 3 tackles for loss, had 2 2-point conversions, had a 68-yard rushing TD, and then he had this odd thing where we were talking about it at the postgame show. Windsor's punting out of their own end zone. It gets blocked. We initially said he had intercepted it, but actually it's going to go as a punt return TD of, I think, of like 8 yards or something. But the athleticism that he portrayed, and again, really it was the Eli Tebow, Logan Wilson show. And when those two guys, whenever Wilson's running the ball straight up the gut, you got Tebow coming through. They're meeting like A trains right in the middle of the field, and that was some big boy collisions going on during that game. And tip of the hat to Logan. 26 carries for $145. And a TD. He did his best to try to keep Windsor relevant in the ball game, but when you had Jet Black going 5 for 15 for 51 yards, a TD and an INT, again, talking about the decision-making with the ball. Windsor, it was just one of those games. They just couldn't seem to get out of their own way. They had enough drives that were stalling. But DeSoto, once again, capitalized on everything that they were given, Jeff.
Well, Matt, I tell you, Coach Rush Schmidt there at DeSoto made me feel like after my pregame last week that I actually knew what I was talking about. I talked about the fact that I expected them to throw the ball more this week against Windsor and test the Windsor secondary. Plus, I also know from experience that, and no apologies to you, Coach Schmidt, the old dog's got a lot of tricks up his sleeve still.
Yeah.
And a lot of coaching life left in him. And he knows that Windsor office inside and out. He knows how Lee Freeman likes to set up a team. I don't know how. I would love to see the stats between how many times these guys have gone at each other head to head over the years. I think that's worth looking into. But I knew that he could come up with a scheme. Now, they were very successful. Windsor was that midline play with Logan Wilson coming up the middle, and he gave credit in the post-game show to that as well. But everything else they were able to shut down, from a defensive standpoint. And to me, that's you talk about Tebow, you talk Brent Drummond, in the game that he had, the quarterback, but man, the defense, that was really impressed me.
So that's why I say the 27-point margin, to me, I honestly thought this was going to be another game that was going to go to overtime.
I did too.
Truly thought it was going to be one of these like 26 ball games, something weird like that. But DeSoto just kept turning the points over on the scoreboard, and at one point it was like 27-0, and I looked over at Logan and I just kind of shook my head. I'm like, I cannot believe they were doing this against this team that had a lot building coming into the ball game, and they literally just shut Windsor down at every facet of the ball game.
Excellent. Let's take a look at the rest of our results as well here and pick out a game or two that you'd like to talk about here after we get done here. Gateway STEM 29, Crystal City 6, Perryville 21, Grandview 20, nail biter there. Jefferson 50, Bayless 20. St. Vincent gets back to their winning ways, 42-14 over Hayti. St. Pius X 28, St. James 6, Seckman 14, Oakville 10. That was a bruiser game, it sounds like. That was a tough scoring game there. Rockwood Summit beats Fox 20-14. Rolla 42, North County 14. Northwest 49, Parkway South 14. And rounding things out, Kirkwood ekes one out 24-21 in a shootout there. Back and forth game there, Kirkwood over Eureka. Let's start with Jeff here. We'll pick up a game or two here that it just kind of jumped out at you there.
Well, Jefferson hung 50 on Bayless. Cooper Frisk returns to the lineup, quarterback. We'll talk more about him in the minute. But also Aiden Kinch in that game, coming in the last few weeks as a starter in the backfield, 21 for 172 yards rushing and a touchdown in that game. Just a very impressive between Kinch, Frisk, and Noah Beeler, and the receiving core, and shutting things down on the outside on defense. Total team win, but those three really stood out. Perryville at Grandview, I know that Matt can talk more about that one, so I'm going to leave that one to him. St. Vincent gets back on the winning ways big time against Hayti. I thought they would have more trouble against Hayti. I knew Crystal City would have a hard time against Gateway, but I want to talk a little bit about St. Pius over St. James 28-6. A big win for Pius on the road. Cody Schaefer, 191 yards on 22 rushes. Evan Eckrich, the quarterback, 8 for 12 for 150 yards and 3 touchdown passes. And Lyndon McCoy in that game with 11 tackles. And the Lancers improved to 2-3. And the only other game, real quick, and I'll leave it to Matt after this, the Kirkwood-Eureka game. What an incredible game. 5 lead changes in that game as those two battled back and forth. So Eureka got them last year. Kirkwood comes back and nips them this year, Matt.
It just shows you what the power of a field goal can do as well, too. And that thing, that was just like the dangling participle that whole game. That, because that was the decider at halftime. But I think it was 17-14 at halftime, something like that. And it's still those 3 points just figured in to the end equation and in a tight ball game. And speaking of tight ball games, was that Seckman Oakville game, to where, if my math serves me right on that, I mean, neither team broke 200 total yards offense.
Right. Seckman had 187. I thought Oakville had 181.
That is, and you know what? First game of the year where Seckman, I guess, you know, if you're Coach Barry, we got back to Seckman ways where we had more rushing than passing. But again, you know, I think if you would have told either team you would have been held to under 200 yards and you're still going to get the win, I think you probably would have raised some eyebrows, been like, yeah, we'll take the W, but there must have been some bigger boy football going along the way.
I think over the CVS and the Walgreens over in the Oakville area probably out of bandages and ice.
Yeah, so let's talk Northwest, the Northwest Parkway South. I think this was a nice stamp by Coach Gerling and the Northwest Lions, you know, the 49-14. They hold Parkway South to 160 yards. You look at Stark, I mean, he's just, okay, yes, he's number one in scoring. He's doing all this in passing, this, that. 9 rushes, 81 yards, 2 TDs. Passing, 8 of 9, 221, 3 TDs. But I think right now for me what sticks out once again to go back into some of the micro numbers is the 67% completion percentage, and he's not turning the ball over with the INTs either. If I'm not mistaken, I thought it was, I think 13 TDs to maybe 2 INTs on the season.
Right.
So I think to that point, you know, when you're up 49-0, and as we talked about in the post-game show, and I think Coach Gerling used the comment about, like, you know, not putting any more wear on the treading, to where that was kind of what my point was. You know, it's kind of a luxury to have your quarterback in for a half so he doesn't – you could leave him in, try to maybe want to build the stats. Well, next thing you know, he might get an ankle rolled up. Now he's no good to you for the rest of the season potentially. So anytime I think you can get your quarterback, your main bullet in the chamber, out to just get away from danger, I think bodes well. And, you know, you look at Amarion Frazier, 4 receptions, 155, 2 TDs. Jeremiah Kleins, that Coach had pointed out, too. Your leading tacklers, your long snapper, had 2 fumble recoveries, had a touchdown, and 6 total tackles. That was just on defense. But I'm looking at their schedule coming up. They've got Fox 1-4. They've got Hazelwood West 0-5. They got Parkway Central 1-4, and then they got a big tilt with Oakville to finish the season. So, you know, okay, let's just say 3-1. That's a 7-2 record for the Northwest Lions, to where, and that's, you know, being modest, but, you know, if you saw the way Seckman and Oakville went kind of toe-to-toe, if Northwest learned anything from that Seckman game where, you know, again, all of a sudden a penalty, a botched play, and next thing you know, that, you know, you just had 21 rung up on you in a short time. Maybe learning something from that, they can impose something on Oakville, and they could potentially go 8-1.
And Matt, you know, looking at that schedule, as you mentioned, this could be a situation. Last year, Northwest got to host a district game for the first time in a while, and I see no reason at this point, even in that tough Class 6 division, that they won't be able to host at least a first-week game again.
And to finish off here, Perryville and Grandview. I mean, this was one, had Coach Granger, I believe that's
Hanger,
called in, you know, and that's what I wanted to know too, that, you know, was it a huddle to go for 2? And he was just like, no, we knew that's what we were going to do. And I like sticking to the guns on that because, you know, you could have played for overtime, see how that pans out. But I think, yeah, if you're the Perryville Pirates, you kind of had your stamp put on you by the Grandview Eagles, and you saw the great effort, and talking about the building blocks being put into place, the, you know, productive drives, productive points, getting to the end to where, you know, when you're 21-7 with about 4 minutes left, instead of just hanging your head, oh, woe's me, now you're literally talking into the game, and, you know, we're going for 2 to win. And great job by Brock Poole, one of the area leaders in total yards this year, 7 for 90. I mean, the numbers in this game were a little modest, but he's one of the few in our area that had over 700 total yards. So, you know, 3 for 50 catching, but had, you know, two overall TDs on the night. Looking at just total tackles, you get a kid like Cam Brooks, had 1 reception, 80 yards, 1 TD, had an INT, 8 tackles. Great job. And I'm looking at, they had 400 total yards of offense in the game. So a lot to be said, and that Perryville team is no joke. You know, with the Wheeler kid, again, running his will on everybody. He usually knocks off about 250 a night against everybody per. So I mean, great job. And, if you're going to take a 1-point deficit, you had a chance to go for 2 and win the thing. So I think great job by Grandview.
And Matt, one point that should make the Eagle faithful happy after that game, and I'm sure they are for the effort they put up against Perryville, is dropping them down to the Class 1 class this year because of the population size of the school. Class 1 District 2, with that game, with their overall record and the strength of schedule going against that Class 4 team, they are atop the district standings right now at Grandview. So plenty to be happy about if you're an Eagle fan right now.
Absolutely.
Rocking the nest.
That's right. That is a look at our Week 5 results. We'll be back with our Player of the Week.
Craving authentic Italian cuisine? Hi, this is Don Bollinger at the Pasta House Company in Festus. We're serving up happiness one plate at a time. From our made-to-order pasta dishes to our mouth-watering pizzas, everything is prepared with the finest ingredients. Try our fresh ground burgers, hearty lasagna, or our perfect appetizers. Happy hour every day with half-price pizzas and kids eat free every Sunday. Visit us at pastahouse.com to order online or for delivery on Highway A and Pounds Road, where it's always a great time.
It is now time for our Upon Further Review Player of the Week, the Pasta House Player of the Week, and that today is going to be none other than our good friend Eli Tebow from the DeSoto Dragons. Eli, how you doing, sir?
Pretty good.
Excellent, excellent. Hey, man, you had an amazing game this Friday night against Windsor, and I brought in my good friend over here, Matt Bates, because he's like the number one Eli Tebow fan here, and we're gonna have him give you these stats to make sure that these are right.
He got his own fan club established and everything too. So
there you go.
Being the president of the Eli Tebow fan club, talk to me, Et, about the 11 carries, $132. Was the 68-yarder, was that your longest one in your illustrious high school career, or did you have one that was a little better than that?
That it might be the longest one. I don't think I might have had 1 or 2 that's pretty close, but that might be the longest one.
4 years at the program, young man. One of my first games I did was when you were up there at Bishop DeBerg, and you were just getting pounded hit after hit, play after play. Talk about your 4 years at DeSoto, and honestly, I think you're one of the key cogs to help getting this program back on the map. And so just talk about what your 4 years here at DeSoto has been like.
There's definitely been ups and downs. We've been through a lot of trials and tribulations, just depth-wise, size-wise, a lot of ups and downs, but I definitely feel like through the past 4 years we've matured and we've had a chance to kind of filter younger guys in through like I did my freshman year, so that way they can mature before they get to the varsity level, and I feel like that's a big help that we've had for sure.
So you had 2 2-point conversions as well too to go along with 17 total tackles, and how many of those were against you and Mr. Logan Wilson, doing battle in the middle? Because that was a big boy tilt that I was chomping at the bit to be on the game at, and unfortunately the game was not able to upload thanks to technical difficulties. Nothing that we could do on our end, but as far as a game that I wanted to see of yours, that was a great job against Windsor.
Yes, sir. He was definitely a big boy, hard to tackle. I'm sure quite a bit of those were probably him, because throughout the game, that was my responsibility. They wanted me to focus on was the dive right up the middle. So,
excellent. Hey, Eli, real quick, any aspirations for college coming up here? What's your path here right now?
As of right now, I am not really in the talks with any colleges, but I'm hoping to. That's the main goal. It's always been the goal, but as of right now, I'm probably just going to go tech school if there's not any offers or anything.
Excellent. Well, let's talk a little bit about your upcoming game here, and that is against Fredericktown. The Fredericktown Blackcats, they've had ups and downs, but what do you know about these guys right now? Has Coach briefed you at all a little bit on this upcoming week?
Well, I know my dad and the rest of my family were raised in Fredericktown, a bunch of farm boys, and they are definitely physical. So I feel like that's one thing that we have to be ready for is physicality and just be playing like we have been. And I think we'll be good.
Excellent.
Shout out to Papa Brett on that, right?
Right, absolutely.
So with Fredericktown, but even in game planning, talk about the breakout night that your QB had as a sophomore, Mr. Kisner, against Windsor. That, slinging it and bringing it, seemed to, have a fairly accurate arm, and DeSoto just seemed to want to whip out a passing game.
The kid's an athlete. I'll give him that. He's one of the fastest kids in the school, probably, as it showed with the pretty long runs that he had. And not only just running wise, he can throw the ball too, which that's something that I feel like we've struggled a little bit with the past couple of years. And he's one of the kids that have had time to mature on JV and kind of just build their way up in the program, and it really shows because he's a heck of an athlete.
Well, I just got to tell you before we head out of here again, after the last game, I thought might have been one of my last ones to do for DeSoto. So if this one was, it's been a pleasure doing games for you, Eli, and seeing you with what you've been able to do at DeSoto. And if there's a chance we can do a playoff game, would love to chomp at the bit to be able to do that. But thank you for entertaining me your 4 years there at DeSoto, young man.
Well, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate everything you've done for me.
Eli, thanks so much for being our player of the week, and good luck to you this week.
Thank you.
That is Eli Tebow from the DeSoto Dragons. Let's take a look at our honorable mentions as well this week here. From Grandview, Brock Poole, 7 rushes, 90 yards and a touchdown, 3 receptions, 50 yards and a touchdown, 8 tackles, 1 fumble recovery. Nice job there, Brock Poole from the Grandview Eagles. Northwest's Omarion Frazier, 14 receptions, 155 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he probably didn't put up as many points as our good friend Cohen Stark, but hey, we're going to give him the honorable mention as well here. And then our final honorable mention here, Cooper Frisk. Mr. Frisk gets it done here, 8 of 14 passing, 193 yards, 2 touchdowns, 13 rushes, 112 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a partridge in a pear tree.
Right.
And oh my goodness, some good honorable mentions this week. So
well, Omarion only had 4 catches to get that 155, not 14, but still impressive nonetheless with a small sample reception size.
are you trying to say I made a mistake, Matt?
You might have erred,
First
but
team
but you weren't wrong.
I erred. Sorry, guys. That's four receptions?
Yeah, 4 for 155. So
4 for 155? You can't do that in football.
Well, he
Well,
averaged
he did,
about 40 yards a pop. Yes, he sure
All right.
did. So that's
about
why I said that was a little more impressive.
Yeah.
Because Cohen, again, in only one half of football that he went like 5 of 8. Big O, he caught almost all of his passes. And I mean, there was only 56 yards to go around of that 211 that Stark threw that somebody else not named Frazier caught. But I mean, looking up and down, I mean, Brock Poole stuck his nose in there. Offense, defense, running, catching. Had the 8 tackles as well too. And then you also look at the job that Cooper had, getting back into the lineup as well too. So coming off injury for him, I think those were just key players that rose to the time when they needed to shine.
And honestly, there could have been 6 more honorable mentions this week, but
Yes.
I'm glad we got some wide receiver love this week because Frazier's been an incredible target, and he's been open just about every single game for Northwest this year. And, even though Stark and they run the ball and everything, he's there and he is a weapon. And, come playoff times, he's going to have a bigger role, bigger shoes to fill.
And so I'll ask the guys here on the panel that, so I was thinking about this just before we came into the studio that, I know we really don't like to say like one person makes a team, but when I look at the Festus team, and if something happened to Parker Perry, God forbid, I am fine with O'Brien going in as my backup. If something happens to Lontre Williams, you got Camden Yates back there now, and you got 4 other running backs chomping at the bit. But something happens to Cohen Stark out there at Northwest, I'm fit to be tied to figure out what is your plan B. That, the running game goes off of him. The passing game comes off of him. When, you have a Northwest team that, let's just say, throw a dart, 500 yards of total offense, probably 400 of that is attributed to Cohen Stark in some capacity. Has, 8 degrees of Kevin Bacon to all those yards, I would imagine. You take him out of the equation, I don't know much about the depth at their position to where, that second half of the game, I didn't see much as to, who aired the ball out or, what their plan of attack was. But I would just say that I think in an injury right now to a team, Northwest would be the team that I would just circle, be like, if something happened to Cohen Stark, I think, then I think trouble's afoot, Mr. Jeff.
So what you're saying to me, Matt, is what I'm hearing is, so for the Stark family and the Stark Roofing Company, they need to keep him off the roofs until after the season's over.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay.
He might even have that in his contract.
I
too.
would think
Yes.
so. Now, real quick, the only other thing I want to say about Cooper Frisk, back from injury this week, we all know what Cooper, and he's another one, that you take him out of the equation like a Cohen, Cooper Frisk third in scoring in the entire metro area. And the last thing I'm going to say about Cooper Frisk is someone might have had a little visit to McKendree this over the weekend. So I'll say about that. I'll break that news right there.
Okay.
It's breaking news, but it's not official that he would, sign right away.
No.
But hey, we appreciate him being able to make it out there and at least get seen. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we'll be right back here with our Week 6 our schedule. That's
Yes.
that's what I'm. Week
I mean,
6.
we do have one Week 6 result already, which was
right.
Yes, we do,
Crystal
we
City
do.
Road. So I can give you that.
Okay. Well, we'll be back in just a minute. After Friday Night Blitz, check out the Friday Night Blitz postgame at 10 p.m. Our Friday Night Blitz announcers will catch up with coaches from around the area and grab some postgame interviews to cap off another Friday night football frenzy. That's the Friday Night Blitz postgame show at 10 p.m. on live stream STL. And it's time to take a look at our Week 6 schedule. It looks just like this. Some of this may be changing, but we are going to give a score out right away, and that score is Matt Bates.
That is Crystal City 13, Roosevelt nothing. As Roosevelt, their team has folded up shop, so Crystal City gets the forfeit win out of that, and so there's your first score from Week 6.
There you go. 13-0 there, Crystal City over the guys up there that don't have a team anymore. Okay.
Hornets moved to 2-4.
There you go. Okay, 2-4. Hey, trending upwards. Week 6 schedule, live stream STL Game of the Week, Fox at Northwest. We will be in the Lions Den out there with my good friend there, Mike Stoff, over at the Lions Den podcast. Big shout out to him there. So Fox at Northwest. Live stream STL 2, Windsor will be at Hillsboro. You see that there's a spot there for live stream STL 3. We are working on trying to get the Herculaneum Grandview game moved to that live stream STL 3 game. The problem is right now is we're a little short manpower wise, so hopefully we'll get that covered, and we'll get a chance to take a look at the Grandview Eagles for the first time this season. Cuba is at St. Pius X. Festus is at North County. Pattonville at Seckman. Fredericktown at DeSoto. Jefferson is at Perryville. The St. Vincent Indians are at the Bayless Broncos. And Eureka is at Rockwood Summit. Let's preview the Fox Northwest game. Let's start with Jeffrey.
Well, Northwest at home knows what Fox is going to do. Fox is going to run the ball. Coach Tinker believes in the old adage, as does Coach Freeman. When you put the ball in the air, 3 things can happen, and 2 of them are bad.
Yep.
So he will do what he can to control the ground game at Northwest. Northwest will have to be ready for that, obviously, and they'll be able to stack the box and try to deal with that. If they can stem the Fox running game, Northwest at home has a pretty good chance of knocking off the Warriors in this one.
I take a liking to special teams on this, that you've got Stark averaging about 37, 38 yards a punt. Great numbers. But I would highlight DJ Cox. His 4 years there at Fox, he's kind of like an advanced Logan Wilson, to where you have to account for him on the special team side of play. that, Stark might be punting from maybe like the 25-30. All of a sudden, Cox can return that thing either to the house or put it back into something way more manageable for Fox. So I would say just be on the lookout for special teams in that game too, because that could be the thing that shifts the tide. If they're having difficulty moving balls in between you got the battle of the 30s, he could be a game changer. And I would be on the lookout for him, as well as Jude Pribish in the backfield.
Excellent. Let's preview the Windsor at Hillsboro game there, Matt.
Well, I'm going to say you're going to get a big dose of running from the Windsor side once again. See if, again, it's going to go back to what did we learn from the week before, and from the week before that. Again, you came out with 692 yards of offense. You played against a DeSoto team that handedly, shut you down after that. Now you're going to be playing a Hillsboro team fresh off of a beating from Festus. So I think if you're Coach Freeman, it's just, maybe see if there is something in the Festus Hillsboro tape to maybe get something on. Or unless you've already got your game plan already, which I'm sure he probably does, which is we're probably going to pass a couple times, but you're going to get a big dose of run from Jet Black. You're going to get Cotton, and again, you're going to get Logan Wilson in the process too, along with Jack Kuda. So Windsor's just going to have to figure out their game plan, and they're going to have to stick to it.
Both teams coming off stinging losses, but Hillsboro at home is probably going to be in an ill mood after losing to rival last week. Now, Festus. So how they respond to that, how both teams respond, will be interesting to see, Matt.
That's exactly my thought.
Excellent. Let's take a look here at the potential live stream STL3 game here. Herky at Grandview. That should be a pretty good doozy of a game there. And Jeff, you've kind of alluded to it a few times this weekend. Hey, we really need to get out there to that Grandview game.
I'm pushing for it. I'm doing the lobbying. But,
you just want me to do the game, right?
I already nominated Matt to do the game because he's very familiar with both teams. I think this is going to be a great game. And, guys, Week 6 of the high school football team season, when's the last time we've been hyping up a Herky at Grandview game in Week 6 of the high school football season?
Right.
What an interesting time with parity in the Quad County Conference this year between several teams that haven't traditionally fared as well in the last few years. So this is great to see, in my opinion, and it'll make for a great game. Both teams can make big statements and big moves in the Quad Conference with victories in this one. Right now it's a toss-up. I would give the edge to Herky if they were at home, but Grandview's at home. Matt, what do you think?
To me, again, this is another one of those games where I think you just, like the Herky Jefferson, I think it's the intangible. Who's at home? And I say whoever's at home, I think, has the upper hand in that, to where, then I guess I have to go with Grandview against my alma mater. But I got to tell you right now, after coming off of a game against Perryville, Grandview is going to have their work cut out with another hard running attack once again. Clark struck off again, no joke, powering that ball up through the gut. Now, is he a Blake Wheeler? I mean, he's in the conversation. He's just as punishing. But I think they're going to have their work cut out. And I think it'll be a true test to see where, these two teams, when you come through the two-thirds of the season mark, again, it's a what have we learned and what have we adjusted to on both sides.
And, Matt, it might not come down to home team advantage so much as who has the ball last in that one.
Yeah, I mean, again, you look at what happened in that Perryville game, and you have to know if you're up by one, they've already made the choice. They're going to go for two. So
Exactly.
Keep that nugget in your back pocket as well too.
There you have it. Let's take a look at some of these other schedules, or the games here as well. Cuba is at Pius, Festus at North County, Pattonville at Sackman, Fredericktown at DeSoto, Jefferson Perryville, St. Vincent Bayless, and Eureka Rockwood Summit. Give us a game or two here that kind of sticks out to you that you think could be an interesting game to check out.
I mean, I would highlight Festus at North County. I want to see how Festus just travels. Really, a lot of these games kind of just seem like I think they're going to go the way they're going to go. And if you want to flip that back up again real quick, I mean, Pattonville, Seckman, I see Seckman taking that one at home. I see DeSoto not having much trouble with Fredericktown. You know what? Okay, I guess give me Jefferson Perryville. Because St. Vincent Bayless, Indians shouldn't have any trouble, but again, it's going to be a relatively longer trip getting up to Bayless. Eureka Summit, that's going to be some big boy smash mouth football. But I got to say, you kind of want to see how Perryville is going to react, and you want to see, what Cooper Frisk and then the Blue Jays do traveling on the road down to Perryville. A big game for them, I think.
Yeah, that's a big test and a must-win game for the Blue Jays if they want to stay atop the Quad County Conference. I mean, is Perryville as good as they were last year? Probably, but the difference is this year they're not surprising anybody. Physical team versus a small, speedy team, though, and that's how it was last year. And it'll take everything that Jefferson has to stay competitive in that game and have a chance to win. I'm also interested in that Eureka Summit game. Summit at this point undefeated on the season, and Eureka coming in at 5-1. So that should be a good battle over there as well.
That's why I say to see what Eureka does coming back from, again, your one loss this year is by a field goal that it just came back to haunt you. So, I like to see how the Wildcats come back. And again, with that game at home, they're going to have a little burn in their saddle as well, too.
Excellent. Jeff, you want to highlight the Class 4 districts here real quick?
Well, yeah, just to talk about the Class 4 districts just a little bit, because we've got, a lot of our large schools in Jefferson County in the Class 4 District 1 with Festus, Hillsborough, Windsor, Perryville, and DeSoto. And if you look at that district right now, Festus is the clear-cut leader in that district, and at this point, with wins over these other teams, I don't see that changing at all. Festus should get the Week 1 bye in that Class 4 District 1. The interesting thing about this is if you look, Windsor holds the third spot in the district standings, even over DeSoto, who is fifth, even after DeSoto defeated Windsor. The districts are set up, the algorithm, however you want to look at it, is set up by one-loss records, strength of schedule, and point differential, or points scored. So at this point, because of their schedule, DeSoto still lacking or behind Windsor by a couple of points in the standings. But your third through your fifth teams are pretty close right there, and that is subject to change. And I'm sure DeSoto, with a couple more wins, would leapfrog over the fourth spot for sure.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. When you're talking third to fifth, and you're only by 2.5 points, that's where
Tight.
Again your strength of schedule, and then that margin of victory as well too. That you never like to see a team get beat by 40 points, but you know what? If that's what separates me from having either a playoff game at home or just making the playoffs in general,
right.
It's a thing you got to do.
Excellent. There you have it. There you are. That does it for Upon Further Review there, Week 5. Check out Week 6 here next week. Don't forget to check our outlets here, livestreamstl.tv, our website. You can check all of these games there at livestreamstl.tv, along with our Roku channel. Just search LivestreamSTL on your Roku. Download that Roku. You can watch all these games for free for all of us here at Livestream STL. And Upon Further Review, have a great day.
Be kind.
Be a good human.